a right to privacy, and that's why we're not having their faces shown on media.
I may want to take a photo of something else.
And also, if you wanted to take a photo, we'd certainly make arrangements for you to take a photo, just not of the children.
That's not the instructions that you have given, sir. Have any physical or verbal contact with detained children unless previously requested, and specifically, have any physical or verbal contact with CBP detainees and or staff? Are you telling me that I can't even speak to the staff there?
Senator, I'm not telling you couldn't speak to the staff. We would make
why did you issue these instructions?
We have had requests by hundreds and hundreds.
I'm talking about members of Congress, sir, which you said applies to members of Congress. I'm not asking about the hundreds. I'm talking about the responsibilities I have in my own state.
It does, and we would make special arrangements for special consideration, Senator.
But that is not according to your instructions, and when I was there, then the Border Patrol and the people there said that they didn't want me speaking to any of the staff or children. I view that as a violation of my responsibilities.
I'm not familiar with yours.
You're not familiar with, they were carrying out your instructions, sir. I want it fixed, and I want it fixed immediately. Understand? If a member of Congress can't visit a facility in his own state, the people of Arizona elected me, and I'm not supposed to even carry a cell phone with me, you have overstepped your responsibilities and your authority, sir. And I want those instructions revoked as far as members of Congress are concerned, and I want it done today. Do you understand? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And it's, by the way, the same law that our colleagues at the State Department apply overseas for refugee processing overseas. But if anybody who arrives at our shores...
Since 1980, anybody that arrives at the shores, go ahead, can seek asylum, and they have to say that they're fearful. And that was passed in the Reagan administration?
I think it was right at the tail end of the Carter administration.
Okay, so... And that's the law today.
That's correct.
Then there was a second law. When the Department of Homeland Security was created. Senator Feinstein had a standalone law. Does anybody want to comment about what that law is? Because it has a bearing here. It was incorporated in you all should all know this, incorporated in the creation of the Department of Homeland Security. Is anybody familiar with that law?
The Homeland Security Act of 2002.
Correct.
If I recall correctly, it had to do with the expedited removal.
It divided the responsibilities for the processing and treatment of unaccompanied minors between the Department of HHS and the Department of Health and Human Services.
Right. Yes.
And then in 2008, in the against trafficking law, in 2008, which was sponsored by Biden and Brownback, all of these are bipartisan. There were further additions to this law, which basically said children from contiguous countries, Mexico and Canada, would qualify for immediate repatriation, and children that came from non-contiguous states could go through this process. Now that was passed in 2008 under the trafficking law. I think it's important for this committee to, before we start getting opinions, etc., to try to get to the basis of the law. Do you agree? So if this is not correct, I'd like to know before the end of the day, because I do need a
That's
plan.
What needs to be fixed. That needs to be changed to solve this problem.
Yeah. So this is the law, and we should talk about what the law says, what we think the law should say, and then figure out how we're going to deal with this problem. But let me ask you, Mr. Fugate, because I've had a lot of experience, and a lot of experience with FEMA, and how much I believe in you, in your leadership, in your ability to solve emergencies. So I'm glad that the President asked FEMA to step into this situation and try to sort out and give immediate assistance for the immediate crisis on the border, which is in Senator McCain's state primarily. In Texas, I understand why he's very upset. But let me ask you, Mr. Fugate, do you have budgetary authority over this $3.7 billion, where does your authority begin and where does it end in your mind now?
Currently, and not in the supplemental, will I have any budgetary authority over?
You have no budgetary authority in the supplemental.
No, Senator.
Okay, so do you have any budgetary authority for the money that's being spent now?
No, Senator.
So who does have budgetary authority for the money that's spent now?
The agencies, as the budget was passed, the authorization and appropriations for those agencies. So with the President's direction, I gained no new authorities. Unless an agency was authorized to do the work they were doing, or they had funds, or Congress had granted transfer authority within those funds to address this issue, I had no new authority and no new
So
money.
why did the President give you the authority? Why didn't he give them the authority? What is it in your authority that enabled you to do things that they can't do?
Well, in the Homeland Security Act, the Post-Katrina Emergency Management Reform Act, you gave us authorities not only for Stafford Act-related disasters, but as the principal advisor to the Secretary, the Homeland Security Committee, now the National Security Council, and the President, as well as Congress, on emergency management matters. We took the approach when asked to assist that this was a humanitarian issue, and that we have the ability to convene across the interagency, all of the agencies to work together. We have authorities within the national framework to set up and operate under interagency agreements to transfer funds from one agency to another who may have capabilities but not authorization or funding. Again, this is what we did in earthquake in Haiti, where we used federal resources to support USAID.
Okay, but let me ask you this, though, because my time is short, and I want to get to DHH, because this is what I'm very concerned about. I agree that the children need to be handled potentially differently than other immigration issues, and that Health and Human Services has a role. But my concern, Mr. Chairman, is that I am fairly current and up to date on the very mediocre job that's being done in our own foster care system in the United States today. And let me just give you some statistics. On any given day, we have 500,000 kids that are in foster care. In the United States, 691 new children come into our foster care system in 50 states. So with a high caseload by Casey and Pew, high turnover rate of social workers, not enough judges anywhere, we're getting ready to add to this system that's not the strongest, this group of children that have no paperwork, many or little paperwork, many have no birth certificates.
Speaks to the real problems they have in their countries. And obviously the root of the problem is the lack of rule of law in these countries. Now, back in 2010, we began a program called the Central America Regional Security Initiative, called CARSI. And I know some of you should be familiar with this. From 2008 to 2011, U.S. agencies have allocated $350 million to help the exact countries that these children are coming from with the problems of corruption, gang activity, lawlessness, all of the things that are causing these families to be ripped apart. Now, I'm assuming, and please confirm for the record, that both DOJ and state use contractors for this program, the CARSI program.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, I have looked and I can't find any IG reports on any of these programs. Are you aware of any analysis that has been done about the effectiveness of these programs?
Yes, I am aware that there have been, there was a GAO report that was prepared on CARSI. There have been...
I did find the GAO report. I didn't find the IG reports. Are you aware of any IG reports that have been done?
I am not aware, but I will check for you, Senator.
Okay. Now, the GAO report found that the State Department had not provided adequate in-country oversight in other programs that we've looked at. I guess what my question is, how many in-country contracting officers representatives do you have for these contracts?
I will have to get that number for you.
And I would like to know also how many contractors we have overseeing contractors on these contracts. Because what we found in the past is the contractors are watching the contractors, and sometimes the contractors are hired to come and testify about the contractors overseeing the contractors.
I understand.
Can you provide us with a list of the contractors, the scope of the contracts, and the cost of each contract, as well as the oversight being conducted on each contract managed or co-managed by state, USAID, and DOJ in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador.
I will take that back.
We don't have any real indicators that the money we're spending down there in these programs are working, and I would say tens upon thousands of children showing up at our border may be a performance metric that what we're doing is not working very well. And that's something, is the administration aware that you have programs that are working well in some areas, and is that part of their request of this money?
Yes.
How much of the $3.5 billion is for replicating the programs that you maintain are working now?
The supplemental request includes $295 million for expanded economic support fund programs in the region. Most of that money will go to programs that we think are having an impact and that will have an immediate impact in the region.
I'm very anxious to get into the weeds on this. I really want to understand what these contracts are, who has them, what are they doing day to day, what are the metrics, how does it indicate they're working, and what is the cost of replication. And then I want to track that back to the president's analysis, because if we can do it in these host countries, as opposed to trying to absorb all of these children into our systems that we've already heard is already stressed, it would be a huge, huge positive outcome for these children.
Yeah, we agree. And one other aspect of the president's request, though, while CARSI has been a security-driven program, expanding police precinct, model police precincts, expanding community policing, providing some youth outreach centers as part of anti-gang activities, the request also includes funds because we believe that we need to get more balance in the U.S. assistance approach to the region, that we've got to help also on the economic growth and job creation side. So there are funds in there that also we think will make an immediate impact on jump-starting the economies, because I think we'll all agree better job opportunities, better educational opportunities in this region is a way to keep people at home.
I agree. And balance is important. In 2009, U.S. was spending $4.4 on police training in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador combined. We were spending $327 million in Mexico.
Yes, sir.
Do DHS employees have the right to communicate with the DHS Office of Inspector General?
Yes.
Yes.
That's the law, sir.
Finally, will you make sure that that message is sent down the chain in your organization?
We'll re-emphasize it.
Thank you. Commissioner, this past weekend, a member of Congress in Oklahoma attempted to visit the site at Fort Sill. He was refused access. Would you comment on that?
It's a DOD facility, so I actually could not comment. I wouldn't be familiar with it, and it would not be under the jurisdiction of Customs and Border Protection, but I'd be happy to work with people to find out exactly what occurred.
All right. Anybody else have any knowledge on that?
Senator, it is a DOD facility that is being operated by an HHS grantee. We are making available tours for members of Congress, but we do seek to get the tours scheduled in advance so that we can ensure that they are structured in a way that the needed tour guides are in place and that it is consistent with the set of responsibilities that the staff at the facility have.
So actually it's HHS's jurisdiction to make sure that that accomplishes what you want to accomplish. But the fact that a member of Congress shows up to look at an acute problem for us, that we have the Homeland Security under a supposedly humanitarian crisis and he's denied access, can you explain that?
So we absolutely want to ensure that members of Congress are able to visit the facility.
Except when he showed up.
We are structuring tours on a regular basis for members of Congress and would very much want to ensure for him and for any other member of Congress that we can facilitate making tours available.
So again, so I understand, so I can report to Congressman Bridenstine, it was because it wasn't structured is the reason he was denied access?
It is, as I understand it, arriving at the facility without it being a scheduled tour. And again, we would want to
I would think
provide
we
for a
would
scheduled
want
tour.
members of Congress to come on unscheduled basis just as a good check.
We want to encourage members of Congress to take tours. We are actually
Only at
very,
your time convenience.
excuse me, sir?
Only at your time convenience. I'm saying a random check by a member of Congress is great for this country because they get to see what it is, not what it's prepared to be to show.
Senator Coburn, I should say we are proud of the facilities. We encourage members of Congress to come and see them. We believe that members of Congress will be pleased by what they see if they come.
I would just tell you, I think you made a grievous error in denying Congressman Bridenstine access to that facility. And I don't know who made the decision, but I think, first of all, I think it was illegal to keep a member of Congress from visiting one of these camps, regardless if they come at 3 o'clock in the morning. They should have access.
This is a complex problem, and there is no easy, simple solution.
But there are things that are going to be far more effective and far less costly. Again, let's just go through the numbers. The president's asking for $3,700 million. You divide that by 57,000, that's $65,000 per unaccompanied child. Literally, if we'd buy a plane ticket, put them up at the hotel room, give them some good meals, let's say we spend $1,000 per child, that'd be $57 million to return the children to their families. Isn't that far more effective spending? And wouldn't we be better off spending that $300 million to improve the immigration services in those countries so there's a place for us to return the unaccompanied children? Why don't we kind of reorient our thinking, realize that we can't spend $300 million and really expect to even make a dent in improving the conditions of those countries? And as Senator Coburn said, the most effective message we can send, as opposed to a slick little poster there, is literally sending plane loads in a very humane fashion of these children back to their families.
Part of the request will expand the capacity of these governments to receive additional repatriation flights, and so that is envisioned in the request. I think what we think a more balanced approach that tries to address some of the underlying root causes is also essential, not just to stopping the current problem, but to creating the conditions so that in the future these people have a better alternative in their homes.
Haven't we been doing that for years? I mean, literally, haven't we been trying to do these things for years?
We have, and the scale of how we have provided our assistance, the youth outreach centers is an excellent example. It just doesn't reach a broad enough segment of these countries to make a difference, and expanding some of that assistance we think can make a difference.
Okay, I'm out of time, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for indulgence.
Yeah,